Lou Merloni joining Fitzy and Mego on WEEI Afternoons. Lou, what the hell, guy?
Yeah. First off, hello, Fitzy. Hello, Mego.
Hello, Lou. Thanks for joining us from the other side of the country.
Yeah. No, this is still in processing mode. Still trying to figure out what went down here. All I know is that it was funny. We were sitting on the plane, and I remember at one point looking over to Obi and Will, going, "What are we still doing here?" Usually we get in the plane, things get boarded, and we take off. And I'm like, "We've been here for like an hour. What is going on?" And then like a couple minutes later, it kind of everything broke, and I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like I thought it was a joke, but which made for an interesting, 5.5, 6 hour flight across the country. So I think it stunned everybody, I would say.
Yeah, I got to ask, Lou. So when you're looking around the plane at the rest of the passengers, what was the vibe? Was it like, hey, let's just put our headphones on and stare at something on your tablet?
No, I mean, they're human too. You know what I mean? It's like obviously they're going to kind of talk to one another. A lot of people in the aisles, kind of talking. So I think everybody was just sort of trying to figure it out. I mean, I'm hearing reports now that maybe these discussions are going on for a week or so, but obviously that's not something that's going to get public. That's going to be discussed at all, given who's involved. So I think it just shocked everybody. I don't know if so many people saw it coming.
Yeah, so you were in studio a couple of weeks ago with Andy and Ted and Will in advance of the call of a game, and yep. Fleming was intimating that there was going to be a big change coming in the next 5 to 7, maybe up to 10 days. And here it comes. So now he's the prophet of Red Sox Nation, Lou.
Yeah. I don't know if this is what he meant, but if it is, good for him, because this is a big one.
Oh, no, this is his white whale for sure. But if you were given, the biggest thing to me, some people are more, aggravated about the return. Some people just love Rafael Devers as well. To me, the thing that threw me off the most was the timing, and not just like pulling him off the plane and putting him in an Uber and having all the awkward sound bites and the tweets the Red Sox social put out yesterday, but rather you're playing your best baseball, arguably of the season. You just gave up 4 runs on the whole over the weekend to the Yankees. Devers went long. You got 4 in a row. You got a winning record again. The vibes were starting to feel like they were back in place, and this was even before Bregman returns. And now you just upend the entire apple cart. Yeah,
I mean it's like short term. There's really no way to sugarcoat it. Short term, you just lost one of the most dangerous hitters in the American League, maybe in the game. I mean, it does not make you better. And I think that, everybody's sort of feeling good and the way they've been playing lately. And the other thing, too, is, maybe is it all over the fact that he wasn't willing to change positions? But we almost got to the point where we're like, you know what? Like Toro and Romy Gonzalez, like they are doing their thing. Like those guys are absolutely raking, covering first base. We're fine here, right? Just keep him at DH, do your thing, and maybe in the off season, talk to him about moving into a position next year. Who knows, right? So. But it was almost like accepted at this point that everything's fine, because these other 2 guys are hitting. So, yeah, it's like you're starting to feel like, okay, things are turning around, and feeling good. And it's almost like we're just not, we're not allowed to enjoy nice things, or good feelings. I don't know.
Lou, do you have any sense of what maybe Alex Cora's involvement in the discussions that are being reported that were going on over the last week, or even just how he's feeling about this trade?
Yeah, I don't know like how he's feeling or his involvement in it. I do know, I think it just got to the point where the whole first base option to him, I think because of what the other guys are doing, but more importantly, just, when it happened, it was like we played Texas and Josh Smith was at first and Romy was at first and he was a mess and there was collisions and Romy got hurt and it was just a mess at first base for the entire series at home. And it was almost like that point, you're like, guys are going down, guys are running into one another. And it's like, if I lose Rafi Devers, what's going to happen to my offense? And so if there's a slight chance he gets hurt at first, I'm not willing to risk it because without Bregman, I don't have him. I don't know what I got. Well, here we are. We're about to find out because it wasn't an injury, it was a trade. So, yeah, I don't know the involvement of where he's at right now with this.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to ask him tomorrow when he joins us on the afternoon show, Lou, at 5:30 p.m. Eastern,
sure.
Which is, and how about this, Lou? Conveniently timed. That's the exact same time that Rafael Devers will be doing his introductory press conference as the new member of the San Francisco Giants, who, by the way, has said he'll happily play any position the Giants ask him to play.
Yeah, I know. The whole thing is, I think I do. The Red Sox, to me, in the offseason, obviously could have handled this a lot better. They could have discussed it. They could have talked to him. They could have just, you want us to get better. Really, the only areas we can get better are probably at third base. If we do happen to sign these guys, we could move you around or whatever, right? Well, that didn't happen. And I think when it got to the point where he, was upset, not willing to move, I think everybody sort of tried to talk to him, and it wasn't going anywhere. But you got to admit, this thing kind of went south on your own doing. And the fact you couldn't clean it up kind of brought us to this point. So it's tough. It's like I said, short term, there's always the reaction of a trade, especially when it doesn't solve everything. You cleared out all this money. San Fran is probably the only team that would take on all this money because nobody ever wants to sign for San Fran. They try to give up money. Nobody wants to play there. So they have to trade for the talent, and they're willing to pay for it. So you get out from underneath the contract. Right now, it looks awful, as far as short term goes. And the issue is you go and say, okay, how are they going to reallocate that money? And that's where they don't have a fan base backing them or believing in them right now. That's the problem, because around baseball, people hey, they got out from underneath the contract of a DH. He's a great hitter. They got some promising arms. I wish it was more established arms, but now let's see where they go. Where do they put the money? In Boston, you're I don't trust them. That's just the issue. That's been the problem for the last few years. So right now it doesn't look good. Could that change? I don't know, at the deadline. I hope it's not the winner. I hope they're aggressive at the deadline and give this team a little shot and give them another bat.
Yeah, Lou, what you were describing is kind of how I'm feeling about the whole situation. Understanding that it's untenable with this particular player and the relationship has devolved so much. But how are you supposed to have confidence that they're doing something for the major league team? And we went into this season being sold that, hey, this is when they're actually buying in on the major league team and the young kids are coming up. Do you see any indication that is still the feeling from the front office and from ownership, that they're still, I guess, trying to go for it? Or does this change that?
I think what they do next will tell us, right? I mean, listen, if this team kind of struggles offensively, loss of Rafael Devers, and in the next 2 or 3 weeks falls out of this thing and they decide to sell all these pieces, now it's that's going to be a tough sell, and say, listen, be patient. 2026 is going to be awesome. It's that's just a tough sell, given what has been going on. But at the same point, basically what this is the team comes first. And we have a player that we pay an awful lot of money that wasn't really willing to work with the team, that wasn't really willing to do what the team wanted. So you could make the argument that with such a young roster, those guys just learned the business really quick. Those guys are holy smokes, we just traded Rafael Devers because he wasn't willing to put the team first. So they may have sent the right message to a young locker room, but you still want to go out there and win ball games, and you want to put the best team in the field. And it's hard to say that without having Rafael Devers out there. But so it's interesting. it's definitely interesting. But I think the next move, Mego, will tell you more. If they start selling pieces and say, be patient, the young kids are here, I don't know, it's been a long time for that, right? It's been going on for a while.
Yeah, since 2021, 22.
Since Mookie, yeah. I know. Lou Merloni from tonight's Red Sox broadcast on the WEEI Red Sox Radio Network, alongside Will Fleming, joining WEEI Afternoons with Nick Fitzy-Stevens and Miss Megan Ottolini. Lou, here's the big thing. I'd love to, talk about who the Red Sox could go after. Is there a first baseman, a power hitting righty in the outfield, or something they could grab somewhere? I don't know. I mean, we have time to process that. Now, though, we're in the immediacy. We're still sort of in the radius of the bomb blast of this trade. And the big question I have, I like the idea that you just said, hey, this is like what Ortiz said. Don't let your ego get in the way. Sometimes that ruins things between athletes and teams. And this could send the right message to all the young kids, because the youth movement is officially on right now. And I hope all those kids get to stay up. But do you think this potentially creates a credibility or a trust issue going forward long term with both not just your fan base, but the players on the team and any players that could potentially come to Fenway?
I don't think the players You know what I mean? Because I think as players, you sort of sit there and it's like they obviously know they're a better team with Rafi Devers in the lineup. But I think all those guys in that clubhouse will be willing to do whatever it takes, to kind of whatever the team asks. Now, those guys aren't Rafi Devers. A lot of these guys are young or utility players that's been their whole career, whatever the team asks. As far as trust in the fan base, I think we're past that. I think it's up to them. Trust has to be earned. And I think it's up to them to go out and make some moves to kind of create that trust. That's the weird part, because it felt like the fan base is starting to really kind of get into this team the last week, because they're playing good baseball. So when it comes to trust or guys around the league, I don't think that's a big issue. I just like to see them kind of quickly move and just sort of put it together so we can, at some point hopefully you sit back and you're like, oh, okay, by doing that, this is what happened. It's just that hasn't really happened in the past. By losing Mookie, you're able to what? Re-sign Xander? That didn't work. Oh, re-sign Devers. Good. Year and a half, 2, he's gone. Or it's sort of all this stuff you're waiting for the next shoe to drop so that everything sort of makes sense. And sometimes it does a month or 2 months later. So you're just sort of waiting for that moment, and hopefully it happens.
Yeah, I'm sure, if we get a chance, we can catch up with Lance Dobbins, and he'll tell us that he saw this move coming a million miles away. It was a fun weekend, Lou. I can't believe we're not sitting here talking about, can you believe what an epic game it was Friday night, or how well Dobbins pitched, and Bayo looking like baby Pedro. Instead, we're like, it's, exactly. Any final thoughts? What's your one walk-away memory of Devers, Lou?
I would just say him versus the Yankees, and that's the other one. It's like he was such a big game performer. Like he just owned the Yankees. I mean, let's face it, Garrett Cole consistently for the most part has been the best pitcher in the American League, for the last how long he's been in it, right, with the Yankees, whatever it's been. And he's owned them. In the postseason, Devers, was an absolute beast. These sort of things. But I don't know, I think it's funny because he's such an interesting guy. And you look back at the last 6 months, and obviously we're Boston, we're reactionary, but we're also can be hypocritical at times because nobody wanted him at third because he's the worst third baseman in baseball. Then everybody wanted him back at third base. And the minute he refused to do some of these things, everybody just said trade him. And now that they've traded him, those same people are pissed. But I'll always remember, I've always wanted him here, because I want him to hit. He's just one of the most dangerous hitters in the game when he steps in the box, and there's not many guys you can say that about, but he has presence, so he'll be missed. He'll be missed. But here's the good news. I get to see him in like 3 or 4 days. That should be an interesting weekend.
Well, tell him we said hello. I'm sure he's going to miss us just as much. You can, of course, follow him for hopefully he'll find a dog that he can walk and provide some more of his great dog walk intel on the web. Somebody loan Lou a dog, for God's sakes. I'm sure you can.
I know. I'm looking for one out here in Seattle. I'm sort of pausing the walk right now to kind of hopefully maybe tomorrow morning I get some more info today. Let's see. You got some press conferences going on. We'll go from there.
Give him a follow. Of course, you can watch him on Nesson, and you can hear him with Will Fleming on the broadcast tonight on the Red Sox, WEEI Red Sox Radio Network. The great Lou Merloni. Thanks for taking a couple extra minutes on a very busy, very in-demand day, Lou. We always love the insight and the analysis, my guy.